Dragon Ball Z Harukanaru Densetsu on the Nintendo DS is severely overlooked in what I'd consider one of the best generations for Dragon Ball in gaming. The Nintendo DS had no shortage of strong and quality titles on the DS, from Attack of the Saiyans, Super Sonic Warriors 2, Dragon Ball Origins, Ultimate Butoden, and even some of the extended collaborations including the Jump Superstars and Jump Ultimate Stars games. It also doesn't help that this game was released in North America shortly after the PlayStation Portable game Shin Budokai, which did a good job of taking the console Budokai experiences and translating it to portable. Harukanaru Densetsu is a card RPG game, one in a long line of other card RPG games, stretching from the Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES, Game Boy, and even the WonderSwan Color. I'd say Dragon Ball has as much stake in the card RPG genre as it does fighting at this point. And card games were all the rage in North America in the 2000s. Aside from your staples like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!, basically any and every popular anime series tried to have its own official card game, even if they had nothing to do with cards. That means everything from Naruto to Yu Yu Hakusho, Bleach, and even Avatar: The Last Airbender. And keep in mind, Harukanaru Densetsu is not really a collectible card game. It has more in common with Uno than it does games like, the Pokemon trading card game. But for an executive who's giving the go ahead on localizing a new Dragon Ball game for the DS, that hardly matters. And so where the actual collectible card game still has its place today, this game would actually be the last Dragon Ball card RPG to get brought over to the United States until Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission in 2019 on the Nintendo Switch. The game's full Japanese title translates to The Distant Legend of Goku, and I'll admit, it is a bit weird that its title is not translated over. I'd even go as far as to say it's probably one of the major reasons the game fell into obscurity as hard as it did. And look, I am a proponent for keeping games as true to its source material as possible, especially when there are games in the franchise whose names are just changed entirely and weird suffixes are added for no reason, like the Budokai Tenkaichi games. However, I do completely recognize the nature of the beast. Kids are judging games by their cover, and Harukanaru Densetsu doesn't have the same ring as Budokai Tenkaichi or even something snappy like Taiketsu. And so I'm surprised they didn't just call it Dragon Ball Z Distant Legend, which keeps the general concept of the title alive while also not alienating their potential audience. This might have been to avoid association with the critically panned Legacy of Goku game on the GBA, which we know is one of the reasons why Boost Fury's name was changed. And the game is actually not too bad if you're a fan of the battle systems in these games. In terms of presentation, the pixel art, board design, and battle animations are actually really good. I like the little avatars for each of the characters on the board, though I felt like the actual attack animations kind of paled in comparison to some of the Nintendo Entertainment System and SNES titles, weirdly enough. Players might also get annoyed by the story, which goes through an abridged walkthrough of the Dragon Ball Z story from Raditz to Cell, and even then only in very sparse dialogue events, which is kind of tired. Maybe not from a North American perspective in 2007, but looking at it and playing it now, I could do without. Would have been cool to see a game like this make boards for the movie specials, like a board dedicated to fighting Garlic Jr. or a Cooler. Stuff that we usually don't get, or at least weren't getting in 2007. In terms of gameplay, it seems like there's a lot of moving pieces, and that's kind of because there is, but like I said before, it feels more like a board game than it does a collectible card game. You're not really managing your deck in this game. Your deck is drawn randomly. Your method of progression is defeating enemies, which will grant experience points and make your character stronger, and just like a regular RPG. And this is roughly the same formula that's been used for other previous Dragon Ball card RPGs. If I went to everything, I'm sure everyone's eyes would glaze over. So in terms of the basics for the actual battle system, this game relies heavy on a risk versus reward system. Essentially, cards have a power rating and a defense rating. The first matchup when you select a card is to determine who is on offense. If your card has a higher power rating, you get to perform an attack, or whatever action that you've chosen. If you're not chosen for offense, your card's defense rating is used to determine how much damage you take in the battle. And so you're generally trying to maximize your attack or anticipate a high number card from your opponents. If you and your opponent match cards, this starts a stack where you have to draw again and the final power is added to your previous card. And so gambling during this round and losing means possibly taking a lot of damage from a beefed up enemy. And I don't know if the formula gets any more exciting than this. There's definitely strategy involved, but it's not really an interesting or evolving strategy. It doesn't feel like you're building your character in many ways. All your experience points are just going towards your draw rates for specific cards. You don't really do any allocation for yourself. I also assumed the attack animation variety was going to be more diverse as the game went on, but you're going to be seeing the same melee and energy blast combos. Even the support characters, I thought were going to pull off some cool special moves, but they just do your standard energy blast and call it a day. And as I was looking into playing this game, I started reading Japanese reviews online. Some of them bring up the concept of speed and tempo in an RPG. For some, there's the preference for rounds in an RPG battle to be fast and not take that long, especially given you're going to be jumping into these battle scenes very often. Dragon Quest gameplay, for example, is very fast for an RPG. Attack animations happen quickly, you can navigate menus quickly, everything is simple, streamlined, and snappy. Harukanaru Densetsu is slow by comparison, very slow. Everything from the effects to the animations make turns and navigating the board take forever. All of the fancy animations add up over time, and so I could see why certain Japanese fans might not be a fan of this. At one point, I beelined for what I assumed was the exit to the level, and turns out the exit was on the other side of the board, so I just gave up for the night and turned the game off. Overall though, the game is fun for a few hours, but the gameplay doesn't continue to evolve much, and so it feels kind of like a slog to run through. It's good that this game is about as close to the NES games as you can get for American audience, especially seeing as these games never reached North American shores, but there's not much reason for me to recommend people to play this game. In that sense, I'm not surprised that this game kind of sits in obscurity among some of the cooler DS titles. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you're new here, I usually talk about Dragon Ball gaming content, but I'm starting to expand into lots of different anime properties from One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, you name it. If you want to see more of that type of content, it'd help a lot for you to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Okay, bye.